Stewart Purvis is a legend of the media here in the UK, and he had plenty to do with the Queen's messages over the years, and I'm pleased to say joins us now at Buckingham Palace. Thank you very much for the chat.
Nice to see you.
So what was she like?
Well, I think there's one way to sum her up. I think she was the boss. She was the boss in every way. One moment it particularly brought home to me, I was actually in a room in Balmoral with the Princess of Wales, as she was then, Diana, and we were recording some audio for a documentary I was making. There was just me, the Princess and the sound recordist. Suddenly the door opened, in walked the Queen, extremely startled to find a TV producer sitting in one of her rooms. Apparently she didn't know. Diana jumped up, almost in shock, and sort of, completely thrown by it. The Queen then left. And the Princess said to me, I told them I'd be here. I told them you'd be here. I told them you'd be here. And I just thought that showed respect. Also showed, frankly, a bit of fear.
Yeah.
That she had somehow done something wrong. And I've seen that a number of times. One of the staff at Balmoral was interviewed the other day, just in the street, and this lady said, "Oh, I'm a cleaner at Balmoral." And they said, "Oh, well, and what was she like?" She's always very nice. Sarcastic. I thought, gosh,
wow,
that's an interesting word to use.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go that far, but she was sharp in every way.
And this is the truth. When anyone passes, the language slightly changes, the edges get sort of buffled away, buffered off, and they're the second coming of Christ. But I think that's a really good way to put it, is that, to be in charge of any institution for 70 years means your leadership style is not going to quite pass 2022 HR training, all right?
Yeah.
Let alone from when she came, let alone the power of which she spoke.
Yeah.
But that said, there has been a modernising of the institution where if you consider even 25 years ago with Diana, where the whole conversation was, why is she in Balmoral, why isn't the flag down, why aren't they recognised, to live pictures of proclamations that have never been seen by anyone but a Privy Council.
Yeah. I think actually the death and the funeral of Diana sort of had an impact on this. Yeah. I think it opened up the whole idea of what a royal event was. It's actually 40 years ago that I attended the first meeting about how the Queen's funeral was going to be covered on television.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
And it certainly wasn't like going around the nations. Let's be honest, 40 years ago, nobody in England much cared about the nations. Yeah. And for me, it's a wonderful thing to see what's happened in Scotland. OK, it probably only happened because the Queen died at Balmoral, but the institution has reacted and responded extremely well, as indeed the media has. But going to Northern Ireland, going to Wales, this was unthinkable. And of course, there's a political element to that.
Correct.
As you've been talking to Nigel Farage about.
This is it. So there's always a fine line between respect, pomp, and then maybe palaver. As a person who saw the original plans versus today, how close to which are we today?
Well, actually, funny enough, we're not either. I think we're about a genuine opening up in terms of the ability of the people of the UK to take some part in this event. Right. That's what wasn't planned. What was planned was almost like a closed event, and the coffin would go from here to Westminster Abbey, which is an incredibly short route.
Because it has to, not
it has to, and people would have their chance. The idea of it, going through, the streets of Scotland, through the streets of Edinburgh. As I say, I find it really inspiring. The contrast with the original plan was broadcasters, and it probably was only about 2 networks in those days, would announce the death, play the national anthem, and go off the air. Actually, go off the air. And you think, how did anyone think that was ever going to work? So, all this opening up is brilliant, and it's being done really responsibly by the media. And the final point in the media, remember that when the Queen came to the throne, there was no coverage whatsoever in the press of anything to do with the royal private life. There was no coverage by broadcasters. In the theatre, it was illegal to represent any member of the royal family since Queen Victoria. In other words, if you put the Queen, or any representation of the Queen, that was banned. So, wow, how things have changed. And you're right, everything's changed. And she's had to live with that change. I'm sure there were moments when she was frustrated with those changes, but actually it's worked.